Hello, welcome to Great American Gardens. I'm Tricia Springer. Chicago's impressive skyline may be the signature image of the city, but the glass and concrete outline overshadows the city's green tradition. Many people don't realize that Chicago's motto is Urbs in Horto. Well, that's Latin for a city in a garden. If there's one place that does this phrase justice, it's Chicago's Grant Park. In the heart of the city of Chicago, Grant Park is often referred to as Chicago's front yard. It's a stately pleasure ground of formal gardens, but it's formality with a punch.
There's a real feeling of wow. There's a real feeling of, I just couldn't have imagined this was here, and here it is, and I can see it all the time.
In a city known for bustling energy and big ambitions, Grant Park offers a serene garden experience. A garden designed to delight the senses of passing motorists. One of the largest fountains in the world. And a garden where flowers and music bring the people of Chicago together. Traversing the grid of city streets, Grant Park spans 300 acres. It's an integral part of the city, bordered by two Chicago landmarks, Lake Michigan and the city skyline.
You turn one way and you've got the skyline, this magnificent skyline. Turn the other way, you've got the park and the lake, and it's a wonderful lineup.
Well before the emergence of this city's skyline, Chicago residents recognized the potential of the land. Urged by public opinion, commissioners in 1836 declared that this land would forever remain vacant of buildings. The area became a park officially in 1847. In 1901, the park's name was changed from Lake Park to Grant Park in honor of Civil War General, United States President, and Illinois native Ulysses S. Grant. Today, the park remains a treasured open space in the midst of one of America's most cosmopolitan cities. The city's sophistication is reflected in the formal gardens throughout the park.
I think what makes the gardens interesting to me is the variety of plant material. We're using stuff that is a little bit more unusual. I think what we're doing is we're trying to expand what it means to do public horticulture.
In the Court of Presidents, traditional beds are planted with an array of informal flowers like verbena and nicotiana. The statue of Lincoln that marks the Court of Presidents took 12 years to sculpt. The hands and face were created from life masks taken of Lincoln in 1860. Lincoln served 4 terms as an Illinois legislator before becoming president. Directly south of the Court of Presidents is the White Garden, which grows in an unusual place.
So here we are in the median in Grant Park, the White Garden. And it's a garden that was designed with both the pedestrian and the car driver in mind. When they drive past the median, they see the White Garden, it's like, wow, that's white. Look at that, that's fabulous, it's elegant.
White flowers like tuberoses, pineapple lilies, and cleome define this garden's elegant appeal. The carpet of white leads the eye across lanes of traffic to a grand symbol of Grant Park, Buckingham Fountain. Donated by Chicago heiress Kate Buckingham in 1927, the marble fountain is a welcome splash of water, especially beautiful when set against the backdrop of a dramatic sky. Befitting this grand city, Buckingham Fountain is one of the largest fountains in the world. With 133 jets, it shoots 14,000 gallons of water into the air every minute. The entire fountain can hold over 1 million gallons of water. Just a few steps away, the Buckingham flower beds overflow with colorful plants like African daisies and petunias.
We felt as if we had to be responsive to the formality of the park, but we also wanted to mess with that a little bit. We sort of merged and converged and made the boundaries a little furry. And it just feels like the whole bed stands together very well, and all of the plants respect one another.
But there's one garden in Grant Park where formality takes a back seat to plain fun. In the Spirit of Music garden, yellow rudbeckia, summer poinsettia, and lantana don't miss a beat while displaying their up-tempo colors. Here, people from all parts of Chicago converge to enjoy a little night music.
There are evenings during the summer where there are actual bands and where there's dancing. It's made the garden be not just about a garden, but be about what people can do in the garden, which is a nice way of looking at the space.
Touched by the spirit of music or elevated by the distinction of formal gardens, a visit to Grant Park is a spectacular stroll through Chicago's front yard. Coming up next, it's the flower of love, and romance is in the air in this Oregon garden. The sweet smell of roses when Great American Gardens continues. Welcome back to Great American Gardens. Roses, perhaps more than any other flower, seem to inspire writers. It's the international symbol of love. Here are just a few well-known lines. A rose is a rose is a rose. That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. And my love is like a red, red rose. A visit to the International Rose Test Garden in Portland, Oregon reminds us why roses inspire not only authors and poets, but all of us. It would be hard to find a more picturesque spot for a garden. Located on a bluff overlooking the city of Portland and the snow-capped peak of Mount Hood, the International Rose Test Garden offers breathtaking views everywhere you look. With skyscrapers and majestic mountains as a backdrop and brilliant roses all around, it's no wonder this is Portland's most popular rose garden. This garden is not only gorgeous, it's also a place where roses are given a trial run. It's the oldest public rose test garden in the United States. Here, new varieties of roses are evaluated for novelty, color, and fragrance. Visitors to the garden can see roses judged the best in their class over the years. Unique roses, like the Funker rose that changes color as it ages, as well as miniature roses barely bigger than a quarter. But you can keep your change in your pocket while visiting the International Rose Test Garden, for it doesn't cost a dime to visit this public garden. This free 4.5-acre garden has 9,000 roses. It's owned by the city of Portland, which is fitting since Portland is nicknamed the City of Roses.
Well, the reason that roses do so well here is because of the mild climate we have. We don't have extreme high temperatures in the summer, and we don't have extreme cold temperatures in the winter. And most of our rain comes in the fall, winter, and spring, so we have relatively mild summers.
Portland opened the garden in 1917 as a way to try out new rose varieties, as well as honor growers who developed exceptional flowers. The city gives the best roses a gold medal award.
The Gold Medal Award is based on 2 years of evaluation. So the first Gold Medal Award was issued in 1919, and ever since that time, we've planted a rose in a chronological display around the Gold Medal Garden.
In the Gold Medal Garden, people can see some of the most outstanding roses created in the 20th and 21st centuries. Roses like Knockout, Betty Boop, Charisma, Class Act, and Peace.
This rose is Peace, which of course was not only an All-American Rose Selection winner, but it also was a Gold Medal winner. And the significant thing about this rose is it was developed and it was named in 1945 when World War II ended, and of course they named it Peace.
The roses in in the Gold Medal Rose Garden have already won accolades from the city of Portland, but those in the nearby test beds are still being evaluated. Roses within these test beds are vying for what's called All-American Rose Selection Awards. This garden is one of 24 locations in the United States where roses are evaluated. The appraisals are important because roses that do well are sold commercially, while those that don't are rarely seen again. Even miniature roses are under the microscope here, but they have a test program all their own.
We're in the test garden, and here we're in front of the miniature test roses, and this is part of the American Rose Society miniature program. And you can see here, this is a small miniature, really brilliant pink. We're evaluating this rose for disease resistance, for flower form, for the growth habit, fragrance.
Miniatures, which people can plant in their own gardens, can be admired in the elevated beds at the garden's entrance. Here people can marvel at petite roses like Little Artist, Rise and Shine, and Mariata, whose petals look like a white petticoat peeking beneath pink skirts. Nearby, Whistle Stop looks like a careless painter spilled red paint on a white canvas. No two blooms are exactly the same. Another unusual flower is the funker, a hybrid tea rose which people are unlikely to see elsewhere in the United States. This flower was created in 1984 and hails from Germany. It starts as a yellow flower, but as it matures, it turns a vivid pink. A visit to the International Rose Test Garden makes it clear that while roses are red, they're also white, yellow, pink, orange, purple, and sometimes they change color. They come in all shapes and sizes. The International Rose Test Garden is a carnival of color and form, a panorama of possibilities. When Great American Gardens continues, it's not a mirage. This really is an oasis in the middle of dry North Texas. When we come back.
Campbell Select Chicken with Egg Noodles Soup. Smell the savory broth. Taste the tender white meat chicken. It's irresistible. Campbell Select. Why settle when you can select?
Coleman, the outdoor company.
Just because I'm a doctor doesn't mean I don't worry about my cholesterol.
Inventor of the Jarvik Artificial Heart, Dr. Robert Jarvik.
For many people like me, diet and exercise aren't enough. But adding Lipitor significantly lowers bad cholesterol, 39 to 60%. I take it because it does more than that. Unlike some cholesterol medicines, Lipitor is FDA approved to reduce the risk of heart attack and stroke if you have several common risk factors for heart disease. And Lipitor is one of the most researched medicines. You don't have to be a doctor to appreciate that. Lipitor is not for everyone, including people with liver problems and women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. You need simple blood tests to check for liver problems. Tell your doctor if you're taking other medications or if you have any muscle pain or weakness. This may be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Lipitor is one of many treatment options to consider with your doctor. Lowering cholesterol is important, but could you be doing more with Lipitor? Ask your doctor. Don't wait.
Sometimes the lightest touch brings the biggest sensation. New Lipton White Iced Tea. More from less. Lipton Tea can do that.
If you're thinking about a new Pontiac, Buick, or GMC, come to McGuire in Little Falls, where there are no hassles, no stress, just the best deal every time. At McGuire, we know your time is valuable, so we make buying easy. We have hundreds of vehicles in stock at all times and guarantee the lowest price. No hassles, no stress. Just the best deal every time. McGuire Pontiac Buick GMC, Route 46 Little Falls, 2 miles east of the Willowbrook Mall.
You don't have to travel to the ends of the earth to find the world's finest tiles. At Wayne Tile, we import our glass, marble, ceramic, and decorative tiles directly from suppliers throughout the world. Visit one of our stores or showrooms and you'll agree. At Wayne Tile, we have tiles so beautiful, you'll want them everywhere. Wayne Tile in Wayne, Rockaway, and Sussex. And now, an exclusive experience that promises to change the way you look at tile forever. A brand new Wayne Tile has arrived in Ramsey.
Leader in whitening. New Crest Whitening Rinse.
Welcome back. I'm Tricia Springer. Mineral Wells, Texas is a seemingly inhospitable place for plants. It's hot. The summer temperature frequently hits 110 for days on end. Yet, in the middle of this hardened landscape is a genteel garden with an English charm. It's here that a devoted couple has created a bit of paradise in what was once their own backyard. Outside the small Texas town of Mineral Wells, a country road winds through a curtain of dense mesquite trees. It looks like the middle of nowhere. But at the end of the lane, a young garden bubbles up from a rocky hillside. In contrast to its dry surroundings, Clark Gardens rises from the landscape like a mirage. Here, water is precious and carefully conserved. A channel garden has English roots. And the art of weeding is preserved in bronze. The grounds are vast with over 25 garden rooms, statuary, and even a chapel. Clark Gardens started as Max and Billy Clark's backyard garden.
I'm asked repeatedly, how come it got this big? And all I can say is a moment of insanity.
Their passion for their hobby kept growing like crazy. Today they've transformed their rocky hillside into an 83-acre botanical park. They opened it to the public in 1997. The Clarks' goal was to create a garden with plants that can adapt to the dry, hot conditions of North Texas. Plants like the daylily and crepe myrtle, which need minimal care and water. In this part of the country, it's all about the water. With only 26 inches of annual rainfall, gardeners here are hard-pressed to keep things green.
If we don't get a rain, we're watering 7 days a week.
To take advantage of the rain they do get, Max and Billy designed a series of ponds that capture 75% of the rainwater that falls on the hill. The largest of the ponds was once just a pasture, until Max weathered the elements and saw its potential.
I'd come out here in rainstorms, seeing all the water running off that overflow area there. And one day I told Billy, I said, Billy, I'm either going to have a water garden or I'm going to have a sunken garden. It's going to be one of the two.
Max dug a square pit and nature did the rest. The saturated color of petunias highlight the water's edge, while the water itself provides a cool retreat for a majestic black swan. Another graceful garden was inspired by a trip to England.
We toured all the gardens around London, and I fell in love with this one garden. I didn't realize it at the time. It was Lady Di's home.
Inspired by the gardens at Kensington Palace, the Channel Garden brings a bit of European formality to this rugged hillside. Enclosed by walls, the garden wraps geometric flower beds around classic fountains and statuary. Water lilies, roses, and African daisies drink in the sounds of the playful waters. All this beauty is the result of a lot of work. The soil in this area of Texas is tough, but not tough enough to choke out the weeds. That job belongs to Max. Self-described as chief weed puller, Max goes to work weeding the canna garden. And his Labrador Retriever Chocolate is here to help. Sort of.
you don't help.
All weed control at Clark Gardens is done entirely by hand.
Any water that runs off this hill could run on somebody else's property. We use very few chemicals, and all of these flower beds have to be weeded by hand. And there's about 15 to 20 acres of individual flower beds up here.
Max usually weeds 6 to 8 hours a day, 6 days a week. It's a familiar image that Billy had cast into bronze. It's not all hard work in Max and Billy's eyes. It's more a labor of love.
Since we've been married 51 years, well, we both have more nervous energy than we should have.
That energy has transformed a patch of rocky hillside into fertile ground. Clark Gardens is a refreshing delight where a Texas couple has infused conservation and beauty into their charming backyard garden. We'll revisit Chicago's Grant Park when Great American Gardens returns and learn the mystery behind this musical bench. It once did a disappearing act. It's all ahead. Great American Gardens. As we saw earlier, Grant Park is a huge urban oasis that incorporates the city of Chicago into its landscape. The park is a part of daily life for lunchtime brown baggers, bikers, and joggers. In fact, it was a jogger who stumbled upon one of Grant Park's priceless monuments. Behind this sculpture of a woman that depicts music sits a granite bench engraved with musicians. The bench is so much a part of the Spirit of Music garden that it seems like it's always been there. It hasn't. Although the sculpture has been in 4 different locations in Grant Park, the bench hasn't been so lucky. At one time, it was separated from the sculpture and stored in a maintenance yard. Someone decided it was taking up too much room and tossed it along the shore of Lake Michigan. Over 20 years ago, a jogger discovered that some of the stones along the shoreline looked a little too artistic to be a result of nature. So, thanks to the sharp eyes of the jogger, the Chicago Park District was able to retrieve the pieces and put the bench back together again for all to enjoy. Thanks for joining us on our tour of Great American Gardens. And remember, public gardens are your gardens.